A method that tries to take evidence into account is the critical incident method. In the critical incident method, there is a critical incident diary that the supervisor maintains. Now, in this diary, he writes down instances of important behaviors demonstrated by the employee whom he is evaluating. Now, important behavior is any behavior that leads to effective or ineffective performance, and both instances are recorded. Instances of effective performance and also instances of ineffective performance. He writes them down in a diary. Now, for example, let us say he might write something like, on July 21, the sales clerk waited patiently for the customer to share their needs and then gave them several options and helped them to choose the right product, and then maybe went out of the way to show them how to use the product as well. This is a critical incident, an example of effective behavior. The supervisor writes it down in his or her diary. Another instance could be one of ineffective behavior. So on August 3rd, the sales clerk did not return from the break on time. The customer was waiting. In fact, after that, the sales clerk came back and did not apologize to the customer for being late and was also a little rude. So this is an instance of ineffective behavior, a critical incident report. It's written, an example of the behavior is written in the diary. And later on, when performance has to be evaluated, all these instances are taken into account, and on the basis of that, the final performance evaluation is done. In fact, if you combine it with the graphic rating scale method, the critical incidents recorded in the critical incident diary might really help you to assign a numerical scale rating to the person's performance in the graphic rating scale method. Nonetheless, what are some advantages of using this method? Well, the first advantage is that it is based on actual behaviors. So it is based on actual data and not just the opinion or the perception of the manager. Another advantage is that it captures a description of what the employee did. And as these instances get built over a period of time, it counters a bias called recency bias, which we will discuss a little bit later. But recency bias essentially means that you only remember the most recent things that have happened, and on the basis of that, you give the performance rating. If you have a critical incident diary, then you can just browse back and see what are the various critical incidents that have happened with this employee, and on the basis of that, give a more fair and more objective rating, which is free from recency bias. Now, what are the disadvantages? One of the key disadvantages, of course, is that negative behaviors are usually more noticeable than positive behaviors. If everything is going fine, the supervisor might not remember to write down the critical incident in their diary. But if something goes wrong, you can be sure that they'll definitely write it down as a part of their critical incident method. So negative behaviors are more noticeable, making the whole process of observing slightly skewed in favor of observing negative behaviors. It is also time consuming. You have to have a diary, you have to write down the incident, and you have to remember to go back and write there. It takes time to do that. So that is a disadvantage as well. Of course, the employee feels closely monitored because they know that everything they do can be written about in the diary. So that is another disadvantage. Though there is a flip side to it, which is a positive, which is the employee knows exactly what behaviors are expected from the boss, because these are the behaviors that are being written down in the diary. So a smart employee might use this information to demonstrate more of those behaviors which are likely to get him or her a better evaluation. So this is the critical incident method. Key components are a diary where critical incidents are noted down and they are used to do a more comprehensive evaluation or appraisal of the person at the end of the appraisal cycle.